The United States is once again on the brink of a partial government shutdown, with a critical deadline fast approaching. At the center of this high-stakes standoff is President Donald Trump, who is scheduled to meet with both Republican and Democratic leaders in Congress on Monday. The meeting comes just days before a Wednesday midnight deadline, by which lawmakers must agree on a spending bill to keep the federal government funded and functioning. The looming shutdown is the result of a bitter dispute between the two parties over the terms of the next spending bill. Earlier this month, Senate Democrats rejected a Republican-drafted stopgap measure designed to keep the government running until November 21st. Democrats argued that the proposed bill failed to address pressing issues related to healthcare coverage, particularly cuts to Medicaid that had been included in Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. They insisted that any short-term spending legislation must reverse those cuts and expand access to health care, an issue they see as fundamental to protecting working-class Americans. Republicans, however, have pushed back strongly against this demand, maintaining that healthcare-related provisions should not be tied to urgent budgetary legislation. Instead, they argue, such issues should be handled separately during negotiations over a comprehensive long-term spending package. With Republicans holding 53 seats in the 100-member Senate, they technically enjoy a majority. However, procedural rules require at least 60 votes to pass spending bills, meaning bipartisan cooperation is essential to avoiding a shutdown. The political blame game has already begun in earnest. On Sunday, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, offered dueling narratives in television interviews. Thune, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, laid responsibility squarely on the Democrats, stating, "The ball is in their court. There is a bill sitting at the desk in the Senate right now. We could pick it up today and pass it." Schumer, however, countered with a different perspective on the same program. He framed the upcoming meeting with Trump as only a first step toward resolving the impasse, and expressed skepticism about the president's approach to negotiations. "We need a serious negotiation," Schumer emphasized. Now, if the president at this meeting is going to rant and just yell at Democrats and talk about all his alleged grievances and say this, that, and the other thing, we won't get anything done. But my hope is it'll be a serious negotiation. The tense backdrop to Monday's scheduled meeting was further heightened by Trump's recent decision to cancel a previous session with Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. At the time, Trump accused Democrats of making unserious and ridiculous demands, underscoring the difficulty of finding common ground. If lawmakers fail to pass a spending bill before the deadline, the consequences will be immediate. Federal government employees, both civilian and military, will not receive their pay during the shutdown period, though legislation guarantees they will eventually receive back pay. Workers deemed non-essential will be furloughed, while essential personnel, such as those in law enforcement, air traffic control, and emergency services, will be required to continue working without pay until the impasse is resolved. Since 1980, there have been 14 government shutdowns, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. Most of these shutdowns lasted only a few days, but some dragged on longer, causing significant disruption to federal services and to the broader economy. The longest shutdown in U.S. history stretched from late 2018 into early 2019, lasting a record 34 days and leaving hundreds of thousands of workers without paychecks for over a month. As the Wednesday midnight deadline looms, both parties face mounting pressure to reach an agreement that can keep the government open. For Trump, the stakes are equally high, as his handling of the crisis will not only test his relationship with Congress, but could also shape his legacy on governance and bipartisanship. For lawmakers on both sides, The challenge lies in balancing political principles with the urgent need to prevent another shutdown that would impact millions of Americans. At this critical juncture, the question remains, will the meeting between Trump, Republicans, and Democrats lead to meaningful compromise? Or will partisan divisions push the United States into yet another disruptive shutdown? The answer, as always in Washington, will hinge on the art of negotiation and the willingness of both sides to find common ground before time runs out.